what is a listing marketing checklist? We've actually called our listing marketing checklist another name in the past. We called it our property marketing plan. When you see listing marketing checklist, but you also see, like in the example on your screen, that it says property marketing plan, those two things are synonymous. Okay. Now, a listing marketing checklist in the current market situation, it does a few things very powerfully. One, it solves the problem of that stubborn listing. And this will make a lot more sense when I show you the details. The other thing that it does, because if you have a stubborn listing and you're doing adequate promotion that's outlined in your listing marketing checklist, that means it begs the question is, do we need to make a price reduction or a price adjustment? And so your listing marketing checklist, AKA the property marketing plan, becomes a tool or a mechanism to be able to ease your way into justifying and having your seller client easily accept a price reduction without any friction. In fact, if they understand what you're doing and if they're motivated to sell and you give them the plan, they will gladly start to pursue that plan, which may involve reducing the price if it's connected to their outcome. The other thing is, because this property marketing plan or this listing marketing checklist really throws the kitchen sink at marketing a listing, is that it really works to grow market share because you're taking every single opportunity and greatly amplifying that in your local marketplace. And when you amplify listings or when you market listings, you start to get that boomerang effect, meaning you market listings out and what comes back? Buyers come back to you, buyers in the market, but also sellers in that area as well, because sellers are looking at and seeing the action you're taking in the marketplace to market that listing. So in the current market conditions, it's very relevant, but I would go on to say that in any market condition, your listing marketing checklist or your property marketing plan is super essential.
So Chris, so here's where I really address the people who say, look, I need more listing opportunities. I need to be able to close these listings when I go on them. It does beg the question, why should I hire you? And really where it comes down to, Chris, is this fundamental word in real estate. And I think you know what my favorite word in real estate is, and it starts with a T and ends with a T.
Trust.
It is trust. Here's the thing, is that if you ever wonder why you didn't get hired, it's because the buyer or the seller did not trust you to take care of their concerns.
Or they trusted somebody else to do it better.
Or somebody else built superior trust, superior to yours. And by the way, that superior trust is marginal. It just has to be a tiny hairline difference for them to say, I'm going to hire you over somebody else. But using this property marketing plan and this listing marketing checklist helps you, helps me, helps all of us build superior trust with potential sellers, which communicates the value to help them understand, oh, this is why I need to hire them.
If you think about it, this is one of the few ways that you can truly communicate everything that you're going to do for that customer. What other format would you be able to provide a whole laundry list of everything that you're going to do, right? Communicating your value. What other way would you be able to provide that to where they're going to consume all that information? This is the only way you could do it. I'm going to say that this is probably the only way, because any other way would bore the crap out of them, right? If you were to sit there and read this to them during the listing presentation, oh my goodness, that's like the kiss of death right there. Do not read your property marketing plan. Send your listing marketing checklist to prospective sellers before you show up to a listing appointment.
Absolutely. And here's why, Chris. I originally started doing that because I realized I had to go on 2 listing appointments with the same seller to get them to sign. And it's simply because it took so much time to do everything. And so I started doing this, preemptively sending this out. It had side benefits that I didn't understand that would actually happen. And what that did is it started building trust with them before I even showed up to the appointment. And you know what they actually started doing? These sellers, they started canceling or declining appointments with other listing agents because I did this and they did not.
Yeah, wait. The moment you send out your property marketing plan or your listing marketing checklist to a prospective seller or anybody who's thinking of selling their home, you have now just set a standard for what real estate professionals do. Now, here's the thing. You may be the only person doing it, which makes it sets you apart. And if you have a really effective listing marketing checklist, in and of itself, even if someone else has one, you can use this to set yourself apart. I like to call it ethically sabotaging the competition, because once you've delivered this, the damage is already done, because they can't help, that prospective seller can't help but to view every other real estate agent that they're going to talk to under the lens of, I wonder what their listing marketing checklist is. I wonder what their property marketing plan is. They haven't said anything about it. I wonder if I should ask about it. If they haven't said anything about it, maybe I shouldn't. And so all this dialogue is going on in their head. You cause that to happen by sending it out. That's exactly called thwarting the competition effectively and ethically.
Or I call building trust.
By providing value and building trust, right? Like in a superior way. Now, what's really cool too is your property marketing plan or your listing marketing checklist can become a referral tool, meaning that you provide this to prospective sellers and current sellers, right? But now they have a tool that they can refer you with, so that the minute anybody puts their home on the market, what do? They tell everybody that we just listed our home, we're moving, we put our home on the market. And so when they encounter someone who says, oh goodness, you're listing your home, well, is now even a good time? And they can say, hey, you know what? I talked with Gary and I believe now's the right time for me. And here's the thing, he gave me this property marketing plan or this listing marketing checklist. Let me send that to you. And maybe it's a good time for you as well, right? And so it becomes a tool to refer you with.
Statistically speaking, Chris, this is really interesting. I actually did a study with Larry Spurgeon. You remember Larry?
Yeah, he's here in Austin.
Yeah, our offices were next door to each other. But what was fascinating is we actually started studying how many referrals we would get from a listing in a single year. On average, we got 3 referrals from each listing client that we had in that given year, because they're always thinking real estate. When when my sign is in their front yard, all they think about is real estate. And because of that, their ears are perked up for anybody in their sphere, in their network, who talks about real estate. And they're like, oh, are you thinking about selling your house? You know what? I'm going to send this to you. This is really awesome. Gary and Chris, they put this together for me. You might find it beneficial. For those of you who are not using one, what you're about to see can actually be enormous for you. And if you are, heck, you might find a few tips, tricks, techniques that you're like, I want to use that.
Yeah, so this is what ours looks like. It's pretty straightforward. It's a document that lists everything that we're going to do to list, market, and sell the home. I don't know any other way to say it other than to say we, in about 5 pages, communicate and articulate our marketing or promotional plan for that listing. And it's a template. I can modify it for an individual listing if I wanted to. Usually I don't, but you could if you wanted to. You could put in here, for example, their address. You could put in here what the pricing in that market or in that neighborhood looks like. So you can
also another thing, Chris, is if you deal in a marketplace where you're dealing with a lot of different types of properties, like you do farm and ranch over here, and then you do downtown condos over here, you may have a few different things that you shift around.
Yeah, because if you're doing, say, typical suburban area, you may not do drone footage of suburbia, right? But if you're selling a ranch or you're selling a lake house, then you're probably going to want to get some drone footage, because it'll likely be very impressive. Unless, of course, that suburb is near the downtown area, and then you'd be able to show
can't do it because of airports.
Yeah, you can do that. But so this is what ours looks like. And again, sometimes it's structured in a way where sometimes we don't do everything. And sometimes the homes never actually make it to, they sell so fast, we don't get to do all the steps, right? So for example, that drone footage is a good example. We don't always get to do that every time, depending on the home. One of the things that's really powerful is this page right here, because it lists out all the things that we're going to do, but then provides the frequency of when we're going to do it. And I feel like this is so important to communicating our value. If anyone here ever talked to an expired listing customer or an expired listing client? I know Gary has. So, Gary, what is the universal answer to whenever we ask that expired listing seller, hey, why do you think your home didn't sell? Every time, what do they say?
My realtor didn't do anything.
Exactly. Like it's the same time.
They believe
every
time they believe that all their realtor did was put a sign in the yard, put the home in the MLS, and sat back and prayed that the house sells.
So that is their fear. And that is every seller's fear, by the way, is that we're going to take the listing and not do anything. That's the fear. And by the way, there's a lot of people out there like expanding that fear, because that is all they were doing.
That's the whole reason, Chris, why sellers ask this question. Will you discount your commission?
Yeah.
So this tool, this resource handles so many potential objections before they even become objections.
Yeah, because they ask you to reduce your fees when they don't understand what it is that you do, because they don't understand the value that you provide.
You got it.
It is our responsibility to communicate our value. This is one of the ways that we do that. So now they're like, oh crap, I did not realize there was this much involved. When we hear that, means mission accomplished, my friends, in terms of communicating your value. When they're like, I didn't realize there was all this involved, that means you just effectively communicated your value, and they are very unlikely going to ask you to hit up their fees. Reduce your fees. When you articulate your value very well, they want to work with you regardless of what your fee structure looks like. This last page here is meant for communicating who we are. Obviously, if you're going to do this, communicate who you are. But remember, I mentioned that your property marketing plan or your listing marketing checklist can become a referral tool, which means you need to have the essence of the referral tool here, which is to give people an understanding of who produced this document, who implements these strategies. These are the people that I can trust to do this for me. Okay. So that is in its entirety. Like I said, it's pretty brief. It's only 4 or 5 pages, but it's super effective at communicating your value. So hopefully you've gotten a few ideas here.